Every time I think he can't get any dumber, he makes a video like this. I know I say that a lot, but I have to. And he doesn't have to keep going, "Well, hold my beer," every time it gets pointed out how dumb he is. This guy is a real moron, and this video isn't going to do anything to dissuade that opinion. So strap in, because I don't think this is going to be pretty. So, we're back with Daniel King again today, and luckily, this isn't going to be a two-part episode. The next couple won't, which is a good thing. I wanted to touch on this one especially because he's explaining why atheists don't accept the moral argument by just telling atheists what they think, which I guess is hardly a surprise. He is still not making this content for us, only for the people on his side who already have preconceived notions about reality that are demonstrably false. Plus, there is something else here, which eagle-eyed viewers might have caught already, but we'll get to that in a second. So, does he understand why atheists reject his silly beliefs? It's in 5 words. Fill them in for yourself. Let's see if you're right.
Do atheists reject God's moral law because they do not want to be held accountable?
No, because you have absolutely no evidence whatsoever for your nonsensical God. I mean, this ought to be obvious to anyone who isn't living in a ridiculous religious echo chamber, but for the religious, most of whom seem to be, I figure I need to explain. The religious love to think that their imaginary friends are the default. God done it unless someone else can prove otherwise. And even then, most of the time, God's still done it. Except that is not how any of this works. In the absence of an evidence-based explanation, the only answer is, we don't know. Well, what happened before Planck time? We don't know. Where did human consciousness come from? Well, we've got some ideas, but we just don't know all the details. Yet for people like King, God answers all questions because he's lazy and dumb. He wants it to be true, and because he wants it to be true, it just has to be true. So there. So let's let him get his waddle on, and we'll catch up with him on the other side. Because I do not foresee this going very well for him, do you?
Whether accusing God of some inconsistency or denying his existence, the atheist's intellectual problems are often a smokescreen hiding the real issue.
Oh, good. He's going to tell us what we actually think. He didn't ask us or anything because he knows better. Now, that's not exactly a surprise. Apologists have been pulling this shtick forever because they cannot imagine that everyone isn't just like they are. Therefore, they get to diagnose whatever problems they see, real or not, right out of their big book of multiple choice. Now, this would be a good place to put in the Daniel King is a moron. I mean, that's not a surprise. I just have to point it out once again, because as some of you might have noticed, he skipped right over episode 16 in his Proof God is Real series. Nope, he goes from 15 to 17, because Daniel King is an idiot. We are never going to get through a single video without him making a complete fool of himself. But then again, it's early yet, so he might do it again. And again. And again. And again. I don't know, let's see.
Which is the atheist's desire to escape the responsibility that the existence of God involves him in.
What did I tell you? Of course, you could see that one coming a mile away, because people like King, they're just not that bright. Again, not talking to us because we just laugh in his face. We don't believe in your imaginary friend, you idiot. we have no more responsibility to a non-existent deity than we do to non-existent unicorns. Granted, he'll never accept that because he's kinda stupid, but I figure that sets the tone for the rest of this video. So let's see how it goes.
By denying the existence of God, the atheist is absolved of his sins without incurring the smallest act of penance.
What the hell is penance? Do you mean penance? Repentance? I mean, these are words that actually exist, Danny. Do try to keep up. But of course, he won't recognize his own hypocrisy because by rejecting the existence of Allah or Odin or Zeus, whatever, he's in the same boat, right? I bet he's not going to just go jump on the Thor train to get out of his Norse sins. How about you? Because people like Daniel can't think worth a damn, because he's looking at the world through a very, very thick pair of hyper-Christian goggles, and he can't see just how biased he is, because he just doesn't care. We're less than a minute into the video, and he's already screwed up a couple of times. Is anybody else keeping track? Let me know down below.
After all, if there's no ultimate right and wrong, then there is no personal right and wrong.
Bullshit. I can decide for myself what I consider right and what I consider wrong. It's easy. Anybody can do it. And in fact, we all do. We are influenced by our cultures and by our biology, but we all make these decisions every single day, and those decisions change over time. Now, he doesn't like that, but it's demonstrably true. Morals are not static, even in his own silly worldview. You can just look at the Bible to see it clearly. Once upon a time, slavery was A-OK. In fact, it was commanded by and given rules to by God. Today, it's not. So where did God get it wrong? Did he get it wrong by telling the ancient Jews that it was okay to keep slaves? I mean, after all, he spelled out exactly how to do it, where to get them, how to treat them, etc., etc. Or is he wrong by allowing Christians today not to keep slaves? Because a lot of Christians today think it's wrong. They think it's not okay. So come up with an answer to that, Danny boy, because that would be funny to watch.
All is permitted so long as society is not outraged. Without the moral law, hedonism becomes the purpose of existence. If there is no meaning in the universe, what motivation can there be for me to go to work in the morning, or to love my wife, or even to be alive?
Because you want to eat, because you don't want to be alone, and because you want to be alive. I mean, it looks like Daniel King likes to eat, which is why he's out there scamming people with this religious crap. He wants to make money so he can go to the grocery store and stuff his pie hole. Now, I don't know why anybody would want to be with this buffoon. Apparently he's married, but I guess there's no accounting for taste. And personally, I don't care if anyone lives or not. Individuals just aren't that important. If you don't want to be alive, feel free to do something about it. It doesn't bother me at all. I have no vested interest in your own personal survival. There are 1,000 more apologists out there where you came from. I might even get to do more than just laugh by covering them. Probably not, though.
If I did not believe that God existed, I would behave in immoral ways because I wouldn't be kept from doing them by moral sensitivity.
And then you'd be in prison. Most people don't want to be in prison or put to death or face social rejection, be hated, be alone. You know, the list goes on and on and on. That's why people follow the rules, because they don't want the consequences that they'd face otherwise. This is where you really have to wonder how seriously the religious have thought about any of this. Or, if we're being honest, I don't think they've thought about much of anything, but if they're being honest, and I hope they're not, then by all means, keep believing in your imaginary friend for the good and safety of everyone around you, because you, my friend, you've got some serious mental and emotional problems. And I figure we already knew that, but this is the stuff that confirms it.
Many atheists have chosen not to believe in God, not because of intellectual reasons, but because they want to live life free of God's moral laws.
First off, you cannot choose to believe or not believe anything. You have to be convinced. Your beliefs are not beholden to the will. I mean, try it for yourself. Go to the top of a tall building and choose to believe that gravity doesn't exist. Then jump off. You won't be able to do it. It's a stupid idea. Secondly, though, as I said, there are a lot more important and demonstrable reasons to do what society thinks you're supposed to do, and those are called other people. Other people who you can prove are real, who provide consequences that you can show are real, which is a lot better than you can do with your imaginary friend. The reason that I don't go out and kill people, other than the fact that I've got no interest whatsoever in doing so, is because I know that if I did, I'd probably spend the rest of my life behind bars. And I don't want that to happen to me, so I don't go out and kill other people, although sometimes I think we all get tempted, right? There's just that cost-benefit analysis that we go through, where the cost, life behind bars, is a lot worse than whatever momentary benefit you might get from watching some idiot die. So don't do that, at least not if you don't think you can get away with it.
In his novel, The Brothers Karamazov, Dostoevsky points out the reason that atheists reject God.
What is it with theists and their love affair with Dostoevsky? Between King and morons like Jordan Peterson, his corpse is getting fellated on a daily basis. He was a theist, guys. He wrote things from a religious perspective. That doesn't make that perspective right, nor does it mean that he had the slightest idea what the hell he was talking about. You're just making a fool of yourself, Daniel. Not that it's much of a surprise. Not that we didn't see it coming. Anyway, get back to your book review. It'll be a huge waste of time, just like everything else you say.
His character, Dmitri, says, "Without God and immortal life, all things are lawful then. They can do what they like."
Tell that to the cops when they show up at your door with a warrant for your arrest. Because clearly that's wrong. The law is something that humans made up and something that humans enforce. No gods required. This is a problem that seems obvious to everyone except the religious, because I have seen this argument over and over and over again, and when you point out that human justice exists, they just shrug like it's not even a thing, or that they've never even thought about it, because I really don't think they think much at all, and that's a terrible thought, isn't it?
He goes on to say, "It's God that's worrying me. That's the only thing that's worrying me. What if he doesn't exist? What if atheists are right, that it's an idea made up by man? Then if he doesn't exist, man is the chief of the earth, of the universe, magnificent. Only how is he going to be good without God?"
I don't know, the overwhelming majority of people manage it somehow. Why can't you? This is where things go entirely sideways for the religious. I think because they haven't taken the logical steps to work any of this out for themselves. They have been brainwashed for so long that they can't understand what is actually going wrong in their heads. Because I don't know that anything is actually going on in their heads. Yet people manage to be good without God all the time. You know how many minutes I've spent in a jail cell in my life? 0. Absolutely none. You know how many minutes I've spent in a courtroom as a defendant? 0. Absolutely 0. You know how many times the police have come looking for me for a criminal offense? 0. When's the last time I got a speeding ticket? Probably 30 years ago, maybe? Maybe more. It's honestly not that hard, and I do it all the time without your imaginary friend telling me what to do. I mean, what the hell's wrong with you?
That's the question. I always come back to that. For whom is man going to love then? To whom will he be thankful? To whom will he sing the hymn? Atheists laugh. Atheists say that one can love humanity without God. Well, only a sniveling idiot can maintain that.
No, the only sniveling idiots are the religious. We can do all of those things just fine. It's just kind of sad that you can't manage it, but you're the ones with all the problems, not us. The rest of us are doing just fine without your imaginary friends. We're doing just fine without having to bow down to a magical monster in the sky. We don't have to fall on our faces because we're terrified of the things that they'll do to us if we don't. We just figure all this stuff out for ourselves. Whereas the religious, they're too idiotic to even make a rational attempt because they just don't care. And all Daniel is doing here is showing why it's his side that has all the problems. Not that I'm surprised or anything, because Daniel clearly has a lot of issues in his head. I mean, we're 16 videos into his absolute proof of it.
The truth is that everyone knows there is a God, and the people who claim there is no God have suppressed the truth because they want to continue to sin.
So let me tell you what you actually think, because I know more about what's in your own head than you do. Daniel, go eat a bag of dicks and fuck right off. You are just embarrassing yourself. But you're doing it in front of a lot of people who are A, no smarter than you, and B, are willing to put their hard-earned money into the collection plate so you don't have to go out and get a real job. This is the dumb leading the dumb, and pretty much all apologists fall into it. It's why these people are such an absurd laughingstock. But they can't look in the mirror and figure that out for themselves. Because they don't care, and that's kind of a problem, right?
The Apostle Paul writes in Romans 1:18 and 20 about those who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
And we don't care what it says in your stupid book. Let me explain something for the religious. Atheists out there, you can kind of tune out for a minute, although this might be helpful for you too, I don't know. You cannot go into any discussion and just assume that everyone that you're talking to, even on your own side, automatically agrees with everything that you're about to say. This is especially true when it comes to topics on religion, politics, pretty much any contentious subject. Just because you believe it, that doesn't mean that everyone else believes it too. It doesn't mean that anyone but you should believe it, and you might not be justified in believing it either. That's why, when engaging in these discussions, you need to be able to show why you believe it, and why other people ought to believe it too. And the religious, if you notice, they never do that. It's just, but I believe. Who cares what you believe? Nobody cares what you believe except you. And you probably shouldn't either. They don't even try to justify anything. It's always, well, here's this thing that I accept on faith, and if you don't accept it too, you're wrong, so there. But that's stupid. It really is. This is why this entire video fails. And it's not just everything Daniel King ever says, it's every apologist who tries this, because it's all just preaching and no discussion. They don't care about the truth. I don't care what you say, I care what you can prove, and you're not even trying. I mean, give it a shot or just go away, because you're just wasting everyone's time otherwise. Maybe if you actually thought about these things, not just believed, not had faith, but actually put in some intellectual thought, you'd realize just how unjustified you are in believing any of this crap in the first place.
All creation points to the existence of God.
No, it doesn't, because this is something else that you're doing wrong. You're playing, I don't get it, therefore God, which is ludicrous. Just because you are already convinced that God exists, I mean, you're God, not any of the others, that doesn't mean that your God done it. It doesn't mean that any God done it. Just because you're really bad at dreaming up another explanation that you like, that doesn't mean that you are right, just because you want to be. If you want to show that God done it, then first you have to prove that God is real. Not believe it, not have faith in it. Prove it with demonstrable evidence. Then show a direct, demonstrable causal link between this real God that you've already proven and the event in question. But I really want it to be true doesn't mean anything. It just makes you look dumb, that you don't have a rational understanding of the requirements on your side, because you people are morons. Knock it off.
If this was not enough, he also wrote his law on the hearts of every person, giving them the moral compass of the conscience as further proof that he is there.
We already destroyed all of this in his video on morality. I mean, you can go refer back to that if you need a refresher. This is a claim, and as such, it means no more than if I said that invisible, intangible, universe-creating pixies wrote their moral code on our hearts. In fact, most other religions, they all say the same thing. Well, my God created morality. Says who? You can't prove it, and the burden of proof is 100% on your head. You have to justify these things, and you can't. The fact that you think that atheists are going to roll over and say, oh, well, yeah, of course, shows just how dumb you are. That's why he isn't making any of these videos for atheists, because he knows how we're going to react. We're going to tell him that he's full of it, because he is. No, he's only talking to the faithful because they haven't got an intelligent thought in their heads. They already believe all this nonsense, or they would if they paid Daniel King the slightest bit of attention. The only people who have reacted to this video in the comments, they've all been atheists, laughing at this dipshit. And if you're religious and you're watching this, this is why people react to you the way that they do when you try the same thing. I get theists in the comments all the time trying this, and they can't get it through their heads what it is that they're doing wrong. Take a giant step back and learn something. It's not that hard.
Yet even with the evidence in front of them and inside of them, people suppress the truth and deny God's existence because they prefer to do what is wrong rather than to repent and change.
And this is a perfect example of religious delusion. He just really wants to believe it's true, and because he can't imagine that it isn't true, he assumes that everyone else assumes that it's true just like he does, no matter how wrong it is. Do you want to know who else does this? Every single religion on the planet, because they're all just as delusional as you are. Yet, if a Hindu can't tell Daniel King, well, you really know that Krishna is real, you just want to sin, then he can't do it to us. Not if he wants to make any sense, which I figure at this point, he just doesn't care. He's just an idiot with a YouTube channel dedicated to embarrassing himself on a regular basis. Big surprise there.
So Paul continues,
I don't care what it says in your stupid book until you've justified your stupid book to me that any of it is remotely valid. Therefore, we're just going to fast forward like we usually do. I'll see you on the other side.
And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a debased mind to do those things which are not fitting, being filled with all unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil mindedness, there are whispers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, unnecessary, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful. Romans 8:1-23. Ultimately, sin leads to spiritual death. Those who practice such things are deserving of death, according to Romans 1:32.
You just can't get away from this crap, can you? This is just, my book says a thing. Well, everybody's book says a thing. We don't care. Get on with it. Of course he won't because he can't, for the same reason that none of those Proof God is Real videos are being made for people to want to know if God is real. Anyone who is seriously asking that question is just going to laugh at the nonsense the king is putting up on screen. No, he's just pandering to the people who are paying him, saying the things that they want to hear, because if he doesn't, they'll just go someplace else. And sure, people can say the same about me, but they'd be wrong. I make the content that I make, and anybody who wants to come along for the ride, they're welcome to do so. I don't pander to anyone. If you're not happy with what I'm saying, go someplace else. It's fine with me. You should make yourself happy. There are people out there who watch my videos that I disagree with, and I'm not quiet about it. But if they like the content, I welcome them to come for the ride, and if they don't, then the door's over there. Thanks for spending the time that you did. No harm, no foul. Hope you found the content that you watched interesting, and I hope you find something else that you want to consume down the road. I don't make a lot of money here. I couldn't even manage a coffee a day off of it if I drank coffee, which I don't. And what my patrons kindly provide, it's not really a lot of money. This isn't about money, it's about truth. Given a choice between the two, truth is always going to win out. Now, I'm not going to argue with the money, and if anybody wants to kick in a couple of bucks here and there, I'm not going to complain. It's nice to be appreciated, but I don't run around going, subscribe to my Patreon, buy me coffees, do it now. That is not me. It has never been me, and it will never be me. My channel isn't even monetized. On purpose. There are no ads, and there never will be. There are no sponsors, and there never will be. Now, see how many apologists can say the same thing. Not a lot, I figure.
But the good news is that the goodness of God leads you to repentance. Romans 2:4. When I think about good and evil, right and wrong, justice and injustice, when my conscience tells me that I fall short of my own moral standard, when I realize that God is good and wants to help me to be good, the truth comes home all the stronger. God is there.
You still haven't proven it. This is true of every single video that we do around here, King or not. Granted, it's more obvious with idiots like King, but pretty much all of them are just doing, well, this is what I believe, blah, blah, blah. My book says a thing, yada, yada, yada. We're right, you're wrong, so there. This is the best they can do. This is the limit of their skills. It's why these people are so ludicrous, because not only can't they do any better, and let's be honest, it's pretty hard to do worse, but they can't even understand why we're laughing at them. They don't know what is wrong with their presentation. I mean, it's not that hard, is it? Rational discussions don't work like this. I hope they wouldn't fall for the exact same tactics from any other religion or on any other point, but I guess someone out there has to be sending money to the Nigerian princes, so I guess we'll never know. P.T. Barnum underestimated. There is more than one sucker born every minute, and these are the people. And luckily, in a generation or two, the majority of them will be gone, but it's making it through that time that concerns me. These people need an education. And for those like King, I don't think he's capable. I think he's terminally dumb. I'd say he needs a lobotomy, but I figure it's a little bit late for that. He's a con man and a grifter and a gullible idiot, and I am not sure which of those is worse. Let me know down in the comments which one you think, because there is something seriously wrong with this lunatic. It's why he's so painfully easy to debunk.